Good day, everyone. My name is Erica, and on behalf of Carahsoft Technology, I'd like to welcome you to our Plumlogix webinar, A City Official's Journey, Harnessing Salesforce Through Simplicity for Transformative Solutions to Common and Complex Government Challenges. With that, I'd like to turn it over to our first presenter of the day, Jason Bates, Senior Partner Sales and Alliance Manager for State and Local at Salesforce.
Awesome. Thank you, Erica. Good morning and afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Jason Bates with Salesforce. I have responsibility for supporting our partners and alliances with our state, local, and education business unit. This is one of the fastest growing business units at Salesforce. We're very excited to partner with Plumlogix and the city of Boston today and having them share their success story and journey with Salesforce. Plumlogix is a fantastic partner that both delivers exceptional value and demonstrated expertise, not only in this particular use case, which is transformational solutions for government, but also in many other Salesforce solution areas as well. So we look forward to your participation and engagement. I'll pass it back over to Erica to share a bit more about Shoaib, the Plumlogix team, and our guests presenting today. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jason. And yes, I'd like to introduce our speakers next. So we have a very, very impressive panel of speakers today. To start, we have Shoaib Chaudhary, who is the CEO and Executive Liaison at Plumlogix. We have Nadia Hansen, the Global Digital Transformation Executive over at Salesforce. We have Davo Jefferson, the Executive Director over at PowerCore Boston. And then we have Kaja Mukituddin, the Senior Solutions Architect at Plumlogix. And with that, I will pass it off to Shoaib to go ahead and get us started with our presentation.
Thank you, Erica. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining today. I would like to start this session with Nadia, our amazing guest. Thank you for joining, Nadia, our panel discussion. Since you were in a CIO of a large county, and you have worked with many state and local government, and what some trends and digital transformation initiatives you see like across the spectrum, if you can help us understand that.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Just to level set and give you a little bit of context about my background. So my name is Nadia Hansen. I lead the go-to-market strategy for local government all across the US and some Canadian provinces as well. I call myself a public servant first. After joining Salesforce, I had the privilege of serving as the Chief Information Officer for Clark County, which is in Las Vegas, Nevada, really leading the transformation for 10,000 employees, 2.4 million residents, and 42 million visitors that visit the crazy city of Las Vegas.
Awesome.
So as you can imagine, being in Las Vegas, I have lots of stories to share, but thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to our conversation. So Shoaib, to answer your question, I want to share some of my own experience just working across in local government, and I'm seeing now being on the other side of the house, on the vendor side of the house, just speaking with different state and local agencies. So, grants management, and I'll start with, as an example, ARPA funding. That came down a few years ago, post-pandemic. One of the challenges, or I guess a few of the challenges, were around either time-consuming processes or disbursements being delayed, or not really having a single view of the grantees. And last but not the least, kind of lack of transparency, whether it's around data, it's around framework. So really the time-consuming processes, whether it's around the grant makers, whether it's around the grant seekers or the grantees, that really doesn't allow for a streamlined process to take place. So one of the things that we were looking at when I was in a city county setting is, how do I reduce the total amount of time that's really spent submitting compliance documents and spending more time on the actual mission of it, all right? So I think that was a huge gap for us. Another one is around what we call now no wrong door, or digital front door, having a single view of the grantee. So really building the relationships with all the stakeholders, whether it's the nonprofit communities, whether it's the providers. So the coordination of those efforts, having that in a seamless single pane of glass sort of view was extremely important to us. And that's something I see across the board as I speak with different customers. And then I'll just really touch quickly on lack of data and frameworks. So, it's super important. A lot of the institutions that I talk to, they're still measuring and working in spreadsheets. And, an inadequate data security. And I'll give you an example of it. Like when I was in a city county setting, one of the administrators accidentally sent a whole bunch of customer information over email. And they didn't mean to send that spreadsheet, but it was accidentally part of it.
Yeah.
So just to kind of point an example of spreadsheets lack those robust security measures, which really leave a lot of sensitive information vulnerable to unauthorized access or to a data breach. So I think having a system that allows you to scale and having a system that really allows you to grow, a system that allows for that reporting, that transparency to come through is so important.
Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here to share my insight. Hopefully it'll be helpful to folks on the call. So I see a few different issues that can arise from tracking data on spreadsheets. Spreadsheets lack critical capabilities that can help with things like ensuring data security and data integrity. Nadia alluded to a lot of this already. Spreadsheets lack the ability to allow you to view data across multiple spreadsheets, which could be very useful if you're looking at a lot of data at one time. Sorting through these multiple spreadsheets and countless numbers to compile the data can be confusing. You can lose track of something that's critical as a part of that tracking. It can be time consuming when you're trying to manipulate data input and trying to analyze some of this data. It can cause significant productivity leaks as well. So having a really solid database platform in place to track all of this stuff could save you a lot of time and some potential embarrassment. As Nadia said, you send a email to a mass of people with some data that they shouldn't have access to. Could be question. And there's a few things that come to mind when I'm thinking of a response to your question. So I would start with saying, like, familiarize yourself with the eligibility criteria for the grant that you'd be applying for. Grants come out at different times. Some grants that serve the same issue don't come out at the same time. So you need to be aware of the calendar dates for the release of these grants. How much money is going to be available in the funding? Will it be enough to suffice, or will you need additional funding to keep your program afloat? When are the application deadlines for these grants? And understanding any other requirements that might be listed on the grant application would also be important. And you would want to aim to tailor your grant proposal to those specific requirements so that you have a higher likelihood of actually securing that grant. And you want to highlight your projects and make sure that they align with the requirements for the grant. So in essence, you want to paint a picture that says, this is what the grant is saying they'd like to have the money address, and you want to connect the dots to say my organization or my program or project address those things.
Yeah, working in government myself, very similar to Davo. Like, for numerous years, we all know that we have limited resources and we have a very limited budget. especially when all of us are just working on putting 1,000 fires out every day.
Yeah.
So I would say one of the things to really experiment with, and that's what a lot of different agencies are employing, is automation, right? So with automation, you can really minimize the administrative workload that's associated with grant management. So Dev was mentioned eligibility. So if you have any kind of automated workflows around eligibility, you can put in some data validation as part of it. You can create some of those ad hoc reports, really decreasing the time and the effort that's spent on repetitive tasks, allowing your staff to concentrate on more strategic planning and program implementation. Second, I also wanted to bring up, so automation provides a really clear audit trail for all of your grant-related activities, whether that's around tracking fund usage, whether that's tracking around program performance, compliance measures, fostering trust and confidence. And, so a lot of these things kind of come into play when you have a workflow in place and you have a system in place that really allows you to enhance that experience. Because honestly, I don't know how many of us, like I personally have applied for grants, and they're just, the whole process is so cumbersome and it takes a very long time. So as we're thinking about this, digital age where our customers are really looking for an Amazon, an Uber, an Airbnb, this amazing type of experience, the work experience, how can we bring that into government? Especially around grants, because there's so many different stakeholders, agencies, nonprofits that are touching the process.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's great. I mean,
PowerCore is a workforce development training program. We have a green industry focus. So we're helping young adults, people who are 18 to 30, get introduced to what climate change is, why it's important, and why you should be doing something to address it. But equally as important, how you might help yourself by being employed in this space. So we're a 10-month program. We have 3 different tracks that we're training people for. One is building operations. So that's making sure commercial size buildings, carbon footprint is at a minimal from an energy usage perspective. We're also looking at urban forestry, which is making sure the tree canopy in our city is well taken care of. And we're thirdly looking at urban greening, which deals with storm water runoff and green infrastructure. So again, just making sure our city is climate friendly from as many perspectives as possible. Our mayor is a part of what's called the Green New Deal. And so PowerCore is one spoke in the wheel of many initiatives that the city is taking on to make sure that by 2030, we significantly reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. We pay our young people a stipend while they're in the program, so they're able to take care of themselves while they're learning about this. And then we have a workforce development team that helps connect them to employment opportunities in the green space once they complete the program. So then they can not only help themselves with the paycheck, but they can help the city to reduce its carbon footprint. We're being looked at from a number of different cities in regards to the program model. A number of cities are interested in bringing us to their place that they call home. And so we've been sharing out with a number of different agencies on how we do it. So a lot of traction around the work we're doing. As we all know, climate change is very serious, and we need more folks who come from the community that I serve, which is Black and brown young adults, to be introduced to it. So that's what Power.
You've been working with Plumlogix team. Would you mind sharing your experience? How was that experience, and how they're helping you in this, creating this impact, in your community?
Great. So Plumlogix was a great vendor to work with. As you know, there are many out there that we could have chose to work with. We chose Plumlogix after interviewing with several other agencies that could have provided this service for us. Plumlogix seemed to understand our mission. They're super attentive. So whenever we reach out with a request or a question, they either respond in a moment or get right back to us. They've been super flexible because our agencies up and running. So there's a lot of moving pieces. And sometimes meetings need to shift or get rescheduled. And they've been really, really understanding in terms of that flexibility. They have a international team and a national team. So we've been able to get along well with both sides, no problems at all. And I would recommend it to another agency if they were in the same space that we're in currently. Great team to work with, no complaints.
You've been working with Plumlogix team. Would you mind sharing your experience? How was that experience and how they're helping you in this, creating this impact, in your community?
Great. So Plumlogix was a great vendor to work with. As you know, there are many out there that we could have chose to work with. We chose Plumlogix after interviewing with several other agencies that could have provided this service for us. Plumlogix seemed to understand our mission. They're super attentive. So whenever we reach out with a request or a question, they either respond in a moment or get right back to us. They've been super flexible because our agency's up and running. So there's a lot of moving pieces. And sometimes meetings need to shift or get rescheduled. And they've been really, really understanding in terms of that flexibility. They have a international team and a national team. So we've been able to get along well with both sides, no problems at all. And I would recommend it to another agency if they were in the same space that we're in currently. Great team to work with, no complaints.
Where you can go and you can upskill, whether it's on the technology side of the house, it's the hard skills, or on the soft skill side of the house. And I wish I knew that, because if you're looking for people to learn about, I don't know, how do I go from an on-prem to cloud computing or something technical like that, there is a trail head. There's a trail module that you follow, and it gives you points. And so it really internally allows you to motivate people, and give them some points, because we can't do a lot in government. We can't give people, monetary things. So I think this is a nice way to keep them motivated. So I'm really glad you brought up upskilling, because that is one of the biggest comments, questions, things that come up. It's like, how do I train my people? I don't have a budget to bring outsiders in. So this is a great way to be able to retain talent and help them grow. So thank you.
When I worked at the other agency, and it was actually the fastest growing nonprofit in the country at the time, and they chose to go with Salesforce. So when I got a shot to run the agency that I'm running, and we were working off of spreadsheets and needed to take that step up, I was like, well, what data platform will we use? And again, there's a number of vendors out there that we could have chose from. And I had a few people suggest different things, and I would always default to like, well, what about Salesforce? Yeah. And I usually wouldn't have a person that could argue me down and say, hey, no, this platform's better, or Salesforce lacks this, or it's too slow, or inundated, or outdated, or any of that kind of stuff. So when I had the shot to make the call on the data platform that I wanted to use, I chose Salesforce. And again, we do a lot of grant reporting. We are grant funded program. We don't sell anything. We're funded by philanthropic, state, city, or federal funding. So all of those folks want to understand, how are we utilizing the money? How are we utilizing the money? So Salesforce helps us to run reports and show succinct, this is where some of the money's being used, and here are some of the outcomes, which are most important to me. I don't just want to, for lack of better words, be like a diploma mill. I want to make sure that the people that we're working with are actually receiving something that's going to allow them to progress or take that next step up the ladder. So this allows us to track it in a way to say, are the inputs having a positive outcome? Are the things that we're putting in, what is the traction? What is the rate of success that we're experiencing based on what we're doing with the young people during the time that we're working with them? So again, you can run reports to say how often this is happening. What is the average of this? And so it helps us to make more informed decisions moving forward. Because again, the population I serve near and dear to my heart, I want to make sure we're having a positive impact. And Salesforce allows us to not just think we're doing it, it gives us some empirical data to say we're either moving the needle or we're not.
Leader in IT and public space, can you share some your experience and best practices for our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think part of what I'm seeing across the board and something we utilize is also going with the platform approach. So today it's a grants management, perhaps opportunity, but then tomorrow we might have something around economic development. The third day it might be around licensing, permitting, inspections. It's really hard to go out and buy 9 different solutions to every problem that you have. So you want to be able to leverage a platform that allows you to build and build on top of other use cases. So that's where you can really leverage and get ROI on your investment. So that's something I wanted to share. And then within the interest of time, Shoaib, I'm happy to roll into like our next thing that we were going to talk about. So I don't think we can have a webinar without the word AI in it. Like
Yeah,
it's not allowed.
that was my next question, but thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So I think we have to talk about AI. So I think some of the key priorities in government, which is interesting because working in government myself too, we're very risk averse. So we don't ever want to be the first ones. But I have to say at the same time, there is so much interest around how do we educate ourselves so we can learn more about leveraging AI in a safe, mitigated way, which is secure and compliant. And we can implement some of these tools to augment, not replace, but augment some of our resources. So that would be around, either enabling adoption of generative AI. So some of the stuff I'm seeing across the board is around case summaries. So if you have 20 pages of a grant document, can we summarize this with actionable bullet points, which might be easy for the, the resident community, the people who are the grantees who are trying to apply for it. Can we provide them with that kind of experience? So it gives them like a Cliff Notes version versus having to read through 30 pages and still miss a whole lot of eligibility criteria.
Wonderful. Yeah.
So that's something we're seeing across the board. And honestly, a lot of governments are using AI for employee productivity and retention. I talked about augmentation, but it's like, how can we be more effective and how can we be more productive to not only increase the customer experience, but also the employee experience internally? So there's, and I have to say, at least I've been talking and been on AI panels and summits in the last month, especially for state and local government. So I feel like this is a big movement.
Absolutely.
Seeing this revolution, this disruption take place, but in a good, positive way where it's not going to be detrimental to any institution.
Platform, it's evolving. And as you can see day and day, you can see there are new products coming out, and especially with the Salesforce platform being on the cloud, it can easily scale and give you the ROI that is really what you need in your various constituencies. And I think here what we are trying to do is provide you a particular solution that is really scalable across different use cases, not only in just grant management space, but also in other different public sector cases there. So what we have over here is, we want to go over the grant management demo and kind of go over that as well. What we have is, really a grant management tool that allows us to really, manage those grants and as a, seeker or as a maker as well. So really at Salesforce, what we have is, it allows you to streamline the grant management process for not just the grant management purposes, but also the grant seeker purposes as well. So it's built on the Salesforce platform here. Now, what it does is that it gives you a 360-degree view of all of your stakeholders and all of your funding programs as well, where exactly those funding are, is actually being actualized or disbursed or wherever it is being used, right? And And you can also have your online portals as well, easily rolled out, and allows you to collaborate with your external users or internal users as well. And of course, a real-time reporting capability, not just a tabular reporting, but also a dashboard-based reporting as well. So just to reiterate, we have two experiences, right? Which is the grant maker experience, and then the other one is the grant seeker experience. So with the grant maker experience, what we have is just a one single place where everything related to your grants is managed, where you can associate the different aspects of that grant, like earlier, as you were just listening to Nadia and Davo, where there is extensive amount of program association with what is needed to be done. The checklist is there, and then there are some reviews that needs to be done, and all of that, it's an association of data. And that's where Salesforce comes into picture. It gives you a cohesive picture, which is nearly impossible if you're actually using an Excel spreadsheet. And with this, you can actually get a 360 view of all of your data points that exist. So it allows you to basically track organizations and people involved in grants and grant applications, create funding opportunities that include application details, and manage as well. So I want to move on to the demo piece now. I think I can share my screen and kind of show you the demonstration as well.
Well, that would be great, actually, to having real-time, the tour of the application. That would be awesome for us.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let me share my screen here, and here's the Salesforce application. As I was talking about, the licenses are kind of rolled out on the platform itself. So if you're actually using your Salesforce Sales Cloud or Service Cloud, you can actually augment the grant management capabilities within the platform very easily. And then there you actually extend all of your accounts, contacts across the grant management capabilities as well. That allows you to give a very good connectivity and a 360 view where you have your existing contacts, your existing stakeholders, and you want to associate them and then manage that with the grants as well. And of course, if you have some external system, this is where the Salesforce capabilities come into picture. And that allows you to real-time do integration with not only just API or data-driven REST API or SOAP API, but also using Lightning Web Components just to picture that data and show it to the to your users or to anybody else. Here you can see on the screen what I'm sharing is just a dashboard where it shows you the program enrollments and then as case owners and all of that, and then assignment benefits. And then of course here for me is the today's tasks, what are that I need to do. And over here, I'm gonna show you around what is exactly the different features that are out of the box available. And we have this funding opportunity here. But before that, the basic principle that is the first starting point of this grant management starts with programs, which is, let's say here is a health and wellness program, and it's active right now. As you can see, it has some summary and additional context associated to that. Now, based on this program, I can actually have funding opportunities here where I can show that based on this particular program and this application timeline, I have this opportunity here. And there are some application instructions and then description around that as well. I can, store this information such as funding amount, maximum funding amount. And again, this can be customized easily based on your needs, your specific use cases as well. And then as we move forward, what we have is an individual application here. And this individual application is for Cosville Community Services, and this is being filled by Julia Miles. And then again, the same funding opportunity here, which is health and wellness grants for year one. And as you can see, there's some, capability here where it's actually showing you in a tabular view the budget category as well, and then planned amount, what is in year one and year two. Again, this is really customizable based on your use case. And if I look at the related aspect of that particular application, what I have is basically what were the application reviews on this particular individual application, what were the decisions on that, and then funding awards, how much was that really awarded, right? If I go in here into the application review process, then you can see that this is an application and this is actually associated to it. And you see that this is actually a description here now, and the status is there. Again, there will be some different processes based on your use case, which comes into picture, and we kind of customize it there for you. And then what we have is basically the application decisions here. And then we have here that this particular application was actually given a decision based on this comments. These comments, these values, these attributes are all reportable. So let's say if you want to run a report based on your application decisions at what year and how many applications were awarded, you can actually create joint reports and show that information as well. I'm going through this really as a tool here. And again, we can have a more detailed demo wherein based on your use case and based on your template as well. But as you can see here, this is the funding award here, and the information here is all reportable. As you can see, a very collective and cohesive information. And again, there are various tools here at the right-hand side, which you can easily use and mark any kind of task that needs to be done or has been done as well, or send out emails as well on this topic, right? So this is where the platform capabilities comes into picture, where you don't have to worry about the data, and it is all currently being stored inside Salesforce. You don't have to worry about where the Excel sheet is going to get shared, or is it really saved by someone really in a secure way or not. This is all within the platform, and every single user has an authentication to log in into the system, and everything within Salesforce is reportable. That's the best part about it.
Oh, this is great. This is awesome. Thank you, Keith, for giving us a
It is, do you have pre-configured templates for grants management? And if so, how long does it usually take to implement?
Absolutely, that's a great question. We have a lot of different pre-configured templates and applications, and Salesforce provides out-of-the-box features, and they can be easily customized within maximum of 3 to 6 months, where you have to review all of your business processes and then come up with a plan to implement it. Since all of these functionalities are already available, you just have to configure it and roll it out.
Training resources to upskill our staff.
Absolutely. Shoaib, do you want to take this question?
I could take that. I'm so passionate about that. I even started PlumU at university, and we do provide training around not only the tool itself, but we actually taking users or people who have no technology background and training them on Salesforce platform. I'm really excited to share at least 15 plus students have already, either completed the program or they're already in the program. At least 6 or 7 of them are women's. I'm really passionate about that, empowering them. And they're really enjoying the Salesforce, as a platform, and they want to even pursue their career in that. So, and I would like to partner with our, local agencies and local government as well, to not only help in this organizing this installing this tool, but also enabling your community, train them and bring them on board, because it's an amazing opportunity for career, for growth, for those people, we are serving anyway, right? So it's a great way to helping and creating impact. I hope that answered the question, Erica.
That might be a good question for Davo.
Yeah.
Because he picked Salesforce. I would love to hear. I think he touched on it earlier, but it might be good to just get a quick.
Great. So I had previous experience, as I mentioned. I was at another agency that went from spreadsheets to the Salesforce platform, and it was the fastest growing nonprofit in the country at the time that it did that. So it needed something that would be able to absorb that growth that they were experiencing, and Salesforce was the direction they went. The folks who were leading Europe at the time, some really smart folks that I had a lot of respect for, and like if they pick Salesforce, I feel like it might be the choice that I should pick. And when they picked it, we had a great experience with it. We were able to run some really useful reports to the work that we were doing again. So it's highly important for me to see that the needle is moving, and Salesforce had gauges and such like right on the dashboard that will allow me to see, is it in the red, meaning you're not where you need to be? Is it in the yellow where you're close? Or is it in the green where you're right exactly where you should be? And just the ability to run reports like really was what sold it for me. You can just pull data just really easily for a number of different audiences. So it's not just funders, you could pull it for a number of different audiences. And that's why I picked it. I would say this, good platforms are not cheap, and cheap platforms are probably not good. So I would just factor that into you moving forward with this. It's probably gonna not be cheap for you, but for me, the price was worth it to make sure that we have easy access to succinct data.
What are other initiatives outside of grants management that you do?
I can
maybe,
share.
yes, Nadia, please go ahead,
I
take
can
that,
share
and maybe
mine.
ask Davo as well.
Yep, absolutely. So outside of grants management, there's so many different use cases. I think we had one slide, happy to share that offline with you too, but essentially we help anywhere between licensing, permitting, inspections, economic development. Health and human services is a huge vertical for us. So that could be around child welfare, family services, social services, around transportation, airports, ports in general. So essentially we play in a lot of different verticals. I hate to say this, but the platform can allows you about 70% of the basic needs, and then the other remaining 30% could cater to your unique needs and how you need to build it. Thank you so much, Erica, for bringing this slide up. So I basically just recap that, but essentially health and human services, transportation, justice and public safety, and ancillaries, what we call basically parks and rec, public works, workforce development, procurement, utilities, you name it. So we play across all the different verticals just to give you a little bit of an idea that we're more than grants management, which is why I was saying you go with a platform, like Davo was also mentioning, you go with a platform that allows you to build, and you can build on top of it. So it's use it as a starting point, but it's not just that. There's a lot more to it. I'll pass it to Davo and Shoaib for any additional content.
Yeah. You forgot to mention about 311 service. That is amazing service that we are working with, hopefully City of Boston and Philadelphia already have it, and I believe Chicago also have it. This is a really amazing service for constituents, and improve your experience, and I'll move it to Davo, this question.
Great. Thank you, Shoaib. I would say that something else that was that I forgot to mention was it allowed us to embed other platforms onto the Salesforce platform that helps us with more succinct communication with our young folks. So you could add other platforms, which was really cool as well. So stuff that I would also mention is that we also track with is participant files, which can be a myriad of different things that we track in that. We also use it for attendance because our attendance is connected to our payroll, which we also use it in that regard. Certifications that they're able to secure, a number of certifications. We're not a college, so we don't grant degrees, but we provide a number of industry recognized certifications. So we track all of that, and we use that tracking to say if we're going to advance a person through the different phases of our program. We look at retention. So how are we doing in terms of who came in and who stayed with us? We also track our partners. We have a myriad of different partners that allow us to actually do this work. A bunch of it is not done in-house. We connect with outside entities that help us to get the job done. And then lastly, and most importantly, we use it to track job placement. How many of our folks are placed? What is their average salary? And what are the companies that they're most employed at? So those are just a few different things that we also use it to track.
Got it.
All right, thank you so much. I'm just going to go over here to our last slide. Due to time, we'll wrap up our event. So thank you so much to the Plumlogix and Salesforce team, and of course, Davo from PowerCore Boston for your insights today. Super, super beneficial for everyone, for all the participants joining. I'd like to thank also all the participants who joined. We hope that this information was very helpful to you and your organization. You can see our contact information is displayed on the screen, so please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great day. This concludes our webinar.
Thank you very much. And looking forward to have any conversation or answering question after this webinar. Thank you.